So is the movie Stalker any good? That's what this video is going to investigate, coming up next. Andrei Tarkovsky's 1979 science fiction movie Stalker is a beloved classic. People all over the internet love this movie. On any movie rating site, you'll see this movie highly rated. The British Film Institute's Sight and Sound poll has it up very high as well. In fact, it's number 29 in the critics poll, 29 all time, and in the director's poll, it's 30th. That would seem to tell you that the movie is legitimately one of the greatest movies ever made. But my question here is it? What's the criteria for that? In this video, I'm going to present a point of view that's going to counter what you've heard before or what you can see on the internet. I actually don't think this movie is that great, and I have a lot of pretty decent reasons, I think, for believing that. Now bear with me because I do love Tarkovsky and I've done several videos on his movies. And I absolutely love science fiction and science fiction film, period. I want to love this movie, Stalker. And what I'm going to present to you might actually make you believe the opposite of what I believe. I think most of the evidence for this movie might actually lead a person to say, yes, this movie is great. So we're going to make several observations about Stalker, make several interpretations, and then it's up to you to make your judgment about the movie. So the first thing to say about Stalker is it's based on a very awesome novel by the Strugatsky brothers. The Strugatsky brothers are underrated Soviet-era science fiction writers, and their novel Roadside Picnic might be their masterpiece. It's beloved within the circles of science fiction readers and critics. Tarkovsky used this novel Roadside Picnic as a basis for the movie Stalker, and the term Stalker comes from the book and the book's premise. The premise is exactly this, that there has been a mysterious zone that has appeared in one part of the world, in this case, in the movie Stalker, the Soviet Union. And there are people named Stalkers who can go into the zone and help guide people to find mysterious objects, or in the case of the movie, a room that will grant you your wishes or at least show you your innermost desires. That's what happens in the movie. You have a lower class, working class stalker hired by an artist and a scientist to take both of them into this mysterious zone. Now, of course, comparing books to films is always a problem because they're two different mediums. But I will say the novel Roadside Picnic, which I've taught and read many times, is amazingly complex. I think one of the problems with Tarkovsky's Stalker is that probably it's a lot easier to watch if you know the story in Roadside Picnic. I think the movie seems to assume all the background and the world of the novel. For example, at one point in the movie, the characters take wing nuts and they tie cloths to them. Then they throw those wing nuts into the zone. Why are they doing this? I think most moviegoers probably could not figure this out, and you're supposed to intuit it or infer it from the dialogue. The zone is supposed to be a mysterious place where there are traps that can kill you, amazing objects that you can capture and take back and sell on the black market. It's a place where no one's supposed to go. It's illegal to get in there. It's less clear to me what the goal of the three men is in the movie. In the book, it's abundantly clear, and late in the book, there's a rumor that there's a golden sphere, and the stalkers want to get to it because it will, like a magic lamp, grant you your wishes. The sphere is a rumor. It seems to be like a holy grail object. It's out there, but nobody knows where, and thus maybe it doesn't exist. Next, the pacing of the Stalker. This movie is brutally slow. And for lovers of slow cinema, that's a great thing. This movie, I think, is much slower than Tarkovsky's earlier work. He's cutting a lot less, and he's showing you a lot of very long takes in Stalker. I've had students who have loved Roadside Picnic as a novel go and find this movie on their own, not knowing what's in it, and then 30 minutes, an hour into the movie, giving up because it's way too slow and not much happens in it. That is not an argument against any movie at all. The question is why this movie is paced the way it is in comparison to, say, Tarkovsky's Andrei Rublev or The Mirror. Even Solaris, which has very slow moments, is punctuated by action. I think Stalker throughout is paced so slowly because in fact it's an attack on the idea of scientific and technical progress. This is something that Tarkovsky talked about a lot in Solaris, for example. But here the idea is there's a goal ahead for these three men moving through a post-industrial wasteland, and they're seeking truth or ultimate knowledge or ultimate reality. But to get there requires a very, very slow, deliberate pacing and walking and finding one's path to get to the goal. The three men are striving for something, the wish fulfillment of the room that lies at the end of their journey. They're striving for something they don't understand, and when they get there, it might be very unfulfilling. Solaris has the same thing. The scientists go study an alien planet that might be alive, but in the end, they can't really tell anything about it, and they're left not knowing anything. Another thing that adds to the attack on scientific progress, I think, is that the real world, the world of the Stalker and of the city in which the Stalker lives, is colored in sepia tones, both at the beginning and ending of Stalker. The vast middle portion where the men go through the zone is colorized. This might be a nod to something like Wizard of Oz, where the fantasy world of Oz is colorized. And what these three men are looking for is something beyond the city, beyond technical know-how or science. I think the zone is also an image of the future after industry or industrial collapse. It's a dangerous place. It's sacred. It's like a church. You need to respect it. And as the Stalker says several times, it's only for those who are hopeless and unhappy. Only the ones who are unhappy get their wishes fulfilled or shown to them by the mysterious room. One of the most haunting choices in Stalker is that Tarkovsky has three men go beyond their city and beyond the women and children in their lives into a world of men only. I think this is a clear signal from Tarkovsky that something is going wrong in the Stalker. That is something wrong morally, philosophically, spiritually. The need to have good women, mothers, wives in one's life, the need for children is palpable in all of Tarkovsky's work. And it's significant in the beginning when the Stalker leaves home. His wife is very upset at him, and he leaves behind his mutant child who he needs to take care of, but whom he might be abandoning for life in the zone, place he might die in. The three men in this movie are seeking something that they may never find. And I think one of the main themes in this movie, if not the main theme, is that men, in particular in the Soviet Union in the late 1970s, are in despair. The men ruminate on philosophical issues, they risk their lives, but what's the point of it all? And the slow journey through the zone is almost unbearable. Almost all of the movie depicts the life of these men without women and children. The ending even features a Stalker's wife apologizing for him, and the mutant child possessing a fantastic ability. Those two were left behind at the beginning of the movie, and yet they have great potential. In a lot of Tarkovsky movies, the rural spaces, the farmsteads, the forest, the open grass areas, these are places of rest and peace and of home. In Stalker, however, these natural landscapes have been ruined by the industrial world, and they've been turned into some fantastical space which could kill the men. The wasteland of the zone is not a home at all, but a rural wilderness. It's polluted and ruined, I think, a sign of true despair on Tarkovsky's part. The men seem to be abandoning people or civilization. In, say, Tarkovsky's masterwork Andrei Rublev, the concern is for the artist Andrei Rublev to know how to deal with the people and to make art for the people. It's a question of the individual versus the masses. In this movie, Stalker, there are no masses. The three men are going beyond into the zone. And given its slow pace and given its lack of announcement of the premise, given its lack of some amount of clarity, the movie might be considered anti-populist. Now that's a strange comment because on the one hand we have all the critics and people on the internet who have rated this movie very highly. However, of course, give this movie to an ordinary moviegoer and they're not going to have a clue what's going on in this movie. It's nobody's fault. That's a stylistic choice on Tarkovsky's part. I'm just not in agreement with totally anti-populist or elitist art. My sense is that Tarkovsky was annoyed with the Soviet Union, with life in the Soviet Union, and the movie Stalker embodies his annoyance. The movie is about the despair, I think, of living in the Soviet Union and being a part of the communist state. As well, the despair of the industrial landscape created by science and technology in the 1970s. Finally, I believe that Stalker abandons a lot of Tarkovsky's cinematic language and imagery. He's got a whole language that he developed over the course of his first 4 movies, and some of that is just not present in Stalker. What you do get here is, say, milk, or indoor rain, or wind blowing through the grass. These are symbolic images for Tarkovsky that say something philosophical or spiritual. But the movie abandons, say, children, or horses, and bells, and birds, and one of his favorites, wintry forests. The question of what lies ahead in the zone is despairing. The men are abandoning the natural world for a fantasy world created by meteors or aliens or something. Will they really find fulfillment in this newly made fantasy world? My judgment is you should read the book Roadside Picnic and watch other Tarkovsky films before coming to The Stalker. That will at least give you the chance to appreciate this movie which so many people love. I've seen probably all major science fiction movies. I've seen Stalker 3 times over the years. I'm not likely to return to it. However, for anybody who does and who loves this movie, I'd love to hear from you. So please leave a comment for me and tell me why you think this movie is genuinely great. Thanks for watching my video. Please subscribe to my channel for more great movie content. Have a great day.